may be the greatest catch I've ever seen in my life.
Alright guys, I said this in the last video, but I want to make sure everybody gets the chance to hear. I have no idea how, but for some reason in 2020, I have completely avoided talking about our fantasy group chat. We've had pretty much the longest free fantasy group chat that you will ever find. Go down there, go to the comment section, go to the description of the video. I'm imagining almost everybody watching this video is already in the group chat. You don't need an email, you don't need a credit card, you don't need anything. You click the link, you choose a nickname, then you start chatting. I think we have about 4,000 people in there currently. We have a basketball side, we have a football side, we have a dynasty side. Pretty much anything you'd want to talk about, you'll be able to find in that group chat. And also later today, as well as tomorrow, as well as the next day, I'm going to be making as many videos as I can where I go through and set your starting lineups for y'all. Y'all know I'm not going to be able to live stream as much this week as I have been able to in the past. So I want to make sure that I still have that chance to answer as many of your questions as possible. And we are all going to try to work together. That way we have our lineups good to go for week 15. Alright, well that's it. Let's get into this video and let's talk about 5 wide receivers that are seeing their value drastically fall going into week 15. And let's start it off with someone coming off another very bad performance whenever I told y'all not to worry about it. Terry McLaurin. Okay, guys, with Terry McLaurin, this is the second straight week where we have pretty much gotten nothing from him. And this has been so out of character for the wide receivers so far in 2020. I will be 100% honest. I did not like Terry McLaurin coming into this season. I preferred other wide receivers at that range of the draft. But still, I think that we have to take the L. I mean, Terry McLaurin has been one of the best wide receivers in the entire NFL, getting volume each and every week. And now it looks like this team is switching back to Dwayne Haskins. And right now, Terry McLaurin's coming off another performance where he saw only 2 receptions, 24 yards, off of only 6 targets. And this offense honestly looked horrendous without Antonio Gibson. Y'all know how much of a fan I am of Antonio Gibson. But still, going forward, while Terry McLaurin should be falling down from us having him as a low-end wide receiver 1 to us probably having him as a mid-tier wide receiver 2 now, he is someone that needs to be in your starting lineup. I mean, if we just take a step back, very similar to what I told y'all to do with Russell Wilson and Kyler Murray this past week, where y'all were all worried to start him, and I was saying to jam him in your starting lineup. I think we're going to be saying the same thing here with Terry McLaurin. While yes, he has been severely disappointing the past 2 weeks, and yes, I guarantee you he lost a lot of people their matchups in week 14, so they may not even get the chance to start him in week 15 given the fact that they're already out of the fantasy football playoffs. Here with Terry McLaurin, his week 15 matchup is actually against the Seattle Seahawks, and yes, the Seahawks defense looked decent against the New York Jets. I mean, they looked fantastic against the New York Jets. But come on, what are we expecting here? It's the Jets, it's Sam Darnold, it's Jamison Crowder, it's Brashad Perriman. Of course, they're not going to be able to move the ball down the field. I think we see a little bit of something different here with Washington versus Seattle. I think that we see Terry McLaurin, who has had a fantastic season so far, go back to what he was providing us a month ago. So yeah, please, while we need to lower our expectations of Terry McLaurin, do not move him to our bench here. That's the main reason I'm honestly including him in this video. Alright, so now our next wide receiver is someone that I was way too high on this past week. I don't know how many people I told to put him in their lineups, but Chris Godwin. Okay, this was a great match for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers wide receivers. I mean, I thought that we were going to see a solid game from Chris Godwin. I thought that Mike Evans had a high ceiling, although a low floor. Antonio Brown was not someone I wanted in our lineup based on the usage that he's had in this offense as of late. But here, Godwin, I thought that he was bust-proof. I mean, we have seen him so far in 2020. Pretty much every single game where he has been healthy, Chris Godwin has been the alpha wide receiver for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I mean, he has been their consistent wide receiver 1 if you look at where the targets are going and if you look at where the production is outside of the touchdown column, because we know touchdowns are the most volatile thing week to week. What we do is we chase volume, expecting that the touchdowns will be random and come with that volume, whereas chasing touchdowns is generally a losing strategy. So all of our process pointed us to the fact that Chris Godwin looked like he was going to be a fantastic option in week 14, yet he did not come through whatsoever. Only 3 targets, 2 receptions, 25 yards, knocked a lot of teams out of the fantasy football playoffs. I mean, absolutely abysmal. And here I stand saying I have no idea what to tell y'all about Godwin. I don't know what we do with this wide receiver going forward. This offense is just so volatile in that they have so many options in Rob Gronkowski, in Ronald Jones, in Antonio Brown, in Mike Evans. I mean, there are so many guys that Tom Brady can go to. I mean, he's even going to guys like Scotty Miller out of nowhere that really, unless this offense is going to be one of the most productive offenses in the entire NFL, it's going to be so hard to project any of these wide receivers going forward. I think at this point, I mean, we are just looking at them as very risky plays in your starting lineup. Yes, they're going to have a very high ceiling based on the talent that they have, as well as the overall ceiling of the offense. But based on the fact that they don't have that safe target share on a week-to-week basis, they're going to have very low floors. So, I mean, if you're thinking about starting pretty much anybody from the Tampa Bay Buccaneers outside of Ronald Jones while healthy or outside of Tom Brady, I mean, I think that you really have to reevaluate that decision. And it sucks to say that because all of these wide receivers have so much talent. All right, so speaking of a wide receiver that has so much talent but playing in a very crowded wide receiver room, we're going to talk about Chase Claypool. Okay, so yes, Deontay Johnson was actually the wide receiver that got benched this week. Yes, Deontay Johnson committed that egregious drop. But here, based on that knowledge, we would have expected Chase Claypool to be a fantastic guy to go to in Week 14 for Ben Roethlisberger and this offense. Yet instead, we saw Juju Smith-Schuster soak up all the volume. We saw Eric Ebron also get involved in the passing offense. And James Washington is making a return on this offense. Y'all know halfway through the season, I came through and said that both Chase Claypool and Deontay Johnson were must-start wide receivers every single week for us based on the fact that they had completely removed James Washington from this offense. James Washington went from a wide receiver, seeing about 30% of the snaps for this Pittsburgh Steelers team, to going all the way down to 0. Well, now that number is spiking back up. And yes, with Deontay Johnson, he's going to fall a little bit, but I don't want to include Deontay Johnson on this list because if we look at the entire sample of when Deontay Johnson has been healthy, he has been producing. On the other hand, though, the last 3 weeks from Chase Claypool, we've had the stat line 11.2, 5.8, 4.5 PPR points. I mean, clearly, if you started Claypool in Week 14, you most likely missed the fantasy football playoffs. I'd imagine the majority of y'all had him on your bench, though, where we had Deontay Johnson in our starting lineups because he had been such a safe option up until this point. So very similar to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers scenario here. I mean, there are so many solid options in this offense, and the target shares are so volatile for all wide receivers. I mean, yes, they all have a very high ceiling based on their talent, based on the fact that the offense should be able to put up points every single week, but the floor is just not going to be there because we can't confidently say the targets will be. All right, so now our next wide receiver, someone that I honestly did not think was playing this past week. I mean, I told so many people to go out there and start Brashad Perriman because he looked like he was going to be inactive. But Jamison Crowder. Okay, so Jamison Crowder ended up being active this game. And I know a lot of y'all are going to say the reason we saw no production coming from Crowder's direction in Week 14 was due to the injury. But I mean, this was a horrendous performance. 2 receptions, 7 yards off of 5 targets. And now this is not only a recent trend with Jamison Crowder of him going out there not being able to put up points. I mean, if we look at the past month of Jamison Crowder's PPR points, we have 2.6, we have 6.1, we have a random 21.7 with some lucky touchdowns in there, and now we have another 2.7. I mean, Jamison Crowder, based on the offense that he's playing on, based on the injuries that he is dealing with, looks like someone that you can go out and just flat out cut. And I think that what we need to do for weeks 15 and week 16 is we need to completely erase the New York Jets from our minds. I mean, I fell into the trap once we thought that Jamison Crowder was going to be inactive against the Seattle Seahawks, thinking that this was one of the worst passing defenses in the entire NFL, thinking that Brashad Perriman was in line for a guaranteed 10 targets with no Denzel Mims, with no Jamison Crowder. So I fell in, and I told some people to start I told some people to start Brashad Perriman, and it was a horrible mistake. I think the only thing that we can do is treat the New York Jets as a college football team, act like none of their options are available in fantasy football. If you have Frank Gore, if you have Ty Johnson, if you have Brashad Perriman, if you have Jamison Crowder, if you have Denzel Mims, if you have Chris Herndon, go out there, drop them off your roster, because it does not matter what the volume projection is going to be for any one of these individual players. The ceiling is going to be capped, and the floor is going to be so low based on the offense that they're playing in. All right, so now our last wide receiver that we're going to be talking about, someone that I actually marked as a buy low about 2 months ago. I mean, we've had a wild ride with him, DJ Chark. Okay, DJ Chark coming off a performance where he saw 9 targets. I mean, this looked like it was going to be a smash. If you just tell me the volume, you show me the athletic profile, you tell me that he gets a quarterback upgrade halfway through the game. On top of that, you tell me that he's going up against the Tennessee Titans offense. I mean, I think that we would expect DJ Chark to be able to come out of this performance with about 20 PPR points off of 9 targets, given the fact that he has that upside to break a play long. He was going up against a very bad defense. So now with DJ Chark, I mean, I think we're faced with a very similar situation of what I was saying with some of these other wide receivers beforehand, where we're just going to have to go out there and cut him. I mean, he is very talented in my opinion, but the quarterback play is so volatile. DJ Chark is having a very high average depth of target, which, yes, will make him have a very large ceiling, but the floor is going to be very low given the fact that the catch rate is going to be through the ground. So yeah, DJ Chark, really can't say anything else other than you're just going to have to go out there and cut him. I think the only player worth rostering on the Jacksonville Jaguars offense at this point is going to be a James Robinson, unless you want to pick up Laviska Shenault for some upside. All right, now, thank you guys. I really hope y'all enjoyed this video. I really hope y'all got something from it. As always, if y'all did, go down there, drop that like, leave that comment, subscribe to the channel. Really, really helps us out. And yeah, that's all I got for y'all. I hope I'll be seeing y'all in the Discord chat. I hope I will see y'all send me pictures of your starting lineup.